Okay, here we start our second topic, topic 2, human resources, and specifically human resources management. We're looking at the management function of using and developing people within a business, again, in order to meet the objectives of the organisation. A lot of different roles are encompassed here, and we're going to cover these later in the unit. We'll start off with workforce planning, move into recruitment, selection and induction of new employees, training and staff development, performance management and performance appraisals, the promotion and sometimes relocation of staff within an organisation, reviewing remuneration packages, disciplinary and grievance procedures, looking after the welfare of employees. Human resources, fundamental to any business. People are typically the greatest asset. And if we have a look here, we'll have some statistics. You can see that highly engaged employees miss 20% fewer days of work and are almost 80% more likely to be top performers. So the best engaged are the best performers. Right, we're just about to see a short video now, and it's about Zappos. Have a think about this question as you watch this short video.
Hello, I'm Paul Michelman from Harvard Business Digital, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Bill Taylor. Bill writes the Game Changer blog for harvardbusiness.org. Bill, welcome.
Great to be here.
Great. Bill, the subject of our chat today is online shoe retailer Zappos. And among other things, Zappos is known for providing some rather extraordinary customer service and for engendering a really deep level of commitment and engagement from its customers. So, Bill, one of the tried and true principles of management is you can't have deeply engaged customers without deeply engaged employees. And yet, in your post on Zappos, you write about a rather unusual policy Zappos has of actually trying to bribe its employees to quit. Can you connect the dots for us here?
Well, it's unusual, but if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Zappos, they're growing fast. They're up to 1,600 people now, just a huge employment growth rate, and they're really committed to filling the company with employees who are equally committed to engaging with their customers. And it's one thing when you recruit and you evaluate and you interview and you try to educate people about what they're signing up for, but they don't really know until they arrive. So on the first day at Zappos, you begin a 4-week deep immersion, not just in how to talk to customers, but in terms of the company's culture, its values, its incredibly high energy. And about a week into it, Zappos stops the training and says to everybody in the room, basically, we'll pay you for the time you've been here, and if you agree to quit today, we'll give you a $1,000 bonus, no questions asked. And the idea is to allow some number of people who are probably sitting in that room saying, my goodness, I kind of like it here, but I had no idea what I've signed up for, and I'm just not ready to step into the kind of intensity and energy that Zappos is expecting, and it gives people a low stress, low risk, and actually kind of rewarding way to opt out at that point. And about 10% of the new recruits to the call centers take them up on that deal. And Zappos thinks that's money very well spent because they're really trying to fill the organization with the cream of the crop. Not that there's anything somehow wrong with people who choose to leave, but it's simply not the right fit for them. And so rather than not, trying to get people not to admit that, hey, it turns out this is more than I expected, they give them the opportunity without a lot of guilt and actually with a little change in their pocket to opt out. It's worked very well for them.
So it's really the first stage to developing the kind of engaged employees they need to be the breakthrough company that they are.
Well, it's actually kind of the second stage because they really think hard and very creatively about the interview process. The Zappos job application is kind of entertaining. You begin with actually completing a crossword puzzle, believe it or not. And I don't think there's no great social science research behind it. It's just a signal to people that this is not your run-of-the-mill company kind of deal. They've got 10 very well-developed values. They ask questions that are probing quite specifically into, do the values of the people they're evaluating sync up with the values of the company itself? And I think they do a very careful and very creative job of doing that. But even with that, you're going to hire people, you're going to invite people in where the fit isn't quite right, and that's where the $1,000 bonus comes in. And by the way, it started at $100, then they raised it to $500. It's now $1,000, and as the company continues to grow, they're thinking of raising it again because they say, you know, we're willing to spend. One of the things that happens as companies get bigger and bigger is that they tend to bland themselves out, and the hunger to just get more warm bodies in here because we have so much work to do overcomes the commitment to having only the right kind of people. And so one way to try to keep that quality up is to keep raising the size of the bonus.
Great. So Zappos employees aren't just engaged, they're deeply empowered. And I think if I read between the lines of your post, one of the reasons they've been able to grow so successfully is they push so much responsibility to the front lines of their workforce.
Quite right.
How do they do that?
Well, first of all, I'd say they're not just empowered, they're borderline insane. And I mean that only in the best sense of the word. I was out there a few weeks ago to sit down with the CEO, Tony Hsieh, and do a tour. And they have 1,500 vendors, and so the vendors are coming through, all the shoe companies, all the fashion companies, so they're coming through all the time. So they're very systematic even about giving a company tour, and I did the tour with the CEO, but other people do the tours, and they walk through the office with this giant flag, which is the tour flag, which lets you know that you're sitting in the various departments, a tour is coming through, and each department has its own crazy cheer, you know, shish boom ba, or somebody rubs up with pom-poms, or they do clapping. It's really kind of a wild scene. And again, this is now with vendors and visitors, and they're trying as a group of individual people to make an impression on you and to make Zappos be a memorable company to experience, whether you're buying something for them, selling something to them, or just coming to see the company. In terms of empowerment, I mean, basically the biggest form of empowerment, certainly in the customer service side, is no scripts, no time limits. You are basically authorized to do what it takes to make the company, make the customer happy, satisfied, and so on. And there are lots of legendary stories about Zappos employees who go way beyond the call of duty to meet the needs of their customers.
Can you tell us one of those stories?
Well, one, it became a real internet sensation about a year ago when a fairly prominent blogger who was a Zappos customer bought a bunch of shoes for her mother, who it turns out was terminally ill. And so she bought 10, 12 pairs, something like that. And the Zappos return policy is, at that point, you had 15, you free delivery. You have 15 days to figure out, do I really want the shoes? And if not, you've got to return them, free return as well. So the 15 days had passed, and she hadn't returned the shoes. And so she got a pretty standard email from somebody at Zappos saying, hey, it's been 15 days. Is there anything wrong, or are you planning to return the shoes? And she, after a long day at the hospital with her mother, she sent an email back saying, oh, I'm sorry, my mother is terminally ill. I'm going to try my best. And by the way, part of the deal is you've got to go to a UPS store to actually return the shoes. So Zappos emailed back at me and said, oh my goodness, we had no idea. We'll send a UPS truck to your house to pick up the shoes. We would never expect you to go anywhere. So they did that the next day. She returned the shoes. Then the day after that, she got a knock on her door, and it was UPS driver with a beautiful bouquet of flowers from Zappos saying, we're so sorry to hear about your mother. We just want you to know that we at Zappos are thinking of you. And she was, as you might expect, pretty overwhelmed by this. She went to her blog. She wrote a post called I Heart Zappos, told the story, and oh my goodness, it just was viral beyond belief, to the point where, over the week or so after that happened, if you, Googled Zappos, one of the absolute top hits you would get is the story of this woman and her thing. And again, brilliant PR, good viral marketing. It was nothing like that. It was just human beings acting humanly with the people who are doing business with Zappos. And, their theory is if you encourage people to do that, it's going to cost you a few bucks, but the benefits you get over the long term are really quite tremendous. And oh, by the way, also, it becomes the kind of place that people want to work. I mean, it's not a very glamorous job, answering phones 8 hours a day from customers. It's not the most exciting work in the world. So if you can give people more of a sense of fun and meaning and connection, I think it pays big dividends as you recruit employees, not just as you recruit customers.
So that's one, I think, great takeaway for any manager who is watching this or listening to us today. Make things fun. It'll transfer to the customer experience. This is a pretty crazy company, though. They're in Las Vegas. They're an online company. They've got a CEO who blogs. They all Twitter.
Yep.
Are there other things from this culture that the rest of us who work in more mundane organizations can apply?
Well, I think the first big insight is they're not a technology company, even though they'll do $1 billion of sales this year over the internet. They do understand that fundamentally they are a customer service company. And so Zappos was actually started in San Francisco, but they moved it to Las Vegas because they felt the culture of San Francisco was way too focused on technology per se as opposed to customer service per se. And Las Vegas, with folks from the hospitality industry, as we say euphemistically, as well as a big call center operation. So everybody who walks in the door understands from day one, we sell shoes today. We sell handbags now in fashion. They're going to be selling consumer electronics. They are building a customer service platform, and everybody understands that job one there is to connect with the customers. To the point where if you're hired as a very senior executive or a very nerdy computer programmer, you take a short class, a short form of the 4-week customer service training, and you spend a week, everybody spends a week working in the warehouse in Kentucky shipping out the product, because they don't want you to then become a marketing person or an operations person and forget what they... So that's insight number one. Number two is a customer service culture is only as strong as the employees who own it. So Zappos every year puts out a 300-page employee manual culture book written by the employees themselves. And you can actually buy it on the site. They sell it to other people who explain the company. And so the sense of the employees really own the culture, whatever form that culture may take, is another important takeaway.
Bill Taylor, thank you very much.
Great, thanks. It was fun.
To read more about Zappos and other innovative companies, you can visit Bill's blog, The Game Changer, at blogs.harvardbusiness.org.
Right, the genius behind Zappos' human resource strategy to pay employers to quit, pay them even before they start working. Zappos is now up to $2,000 to any of those employers that make it through that 2 or 3 week training program. $2,000 or $3,000 then goes on the table. They can walk out, take the money and run, or they can stay and start working for the company. Now, for human resource management is all about getting the most effective workforce for your organization to meet your organization's objectives. Getting rid of these people for a mere $2,000 is just genius. It costs money to train people. That 2 or 3 week training program is going to be nowhere near the end of their training. They're going to have months and months of ongoing training and support on top of that. And if you can get rid of the people that are not going to fit in, these are the people that are going to cost your business money no matter what. Whether you pay them $2,000 to leave now, or whether they're the big drag on productivity that occurs throughout their, in all likelihood, short-term career with your organization. And the employers that buy in, they're just going to be gold. These are the people that are determined to work for your company. They're determined to be the best that they can be. And especially in a business like Zappos, which is built solely around people. And remember, customer relations is all about people. People dealing with people. What a genius human resources strategy. And here, even from a financial standpoint, the idea makes increasing sense the more you think about it. Most CEOs agree turnover costs tens of thousands of dollars in recruitment, training and lost productivity. So yeah, there we go, tens of thousands of dollars. So identifying the misfits early, the cost of just 1 week's salary, that could just be the best deal the company can make. What would you pay to get a full-time, week-long look at the recruit's character, work habits and social skills prior to making a commitment to them? It seems to me that this practice does one other thing for Zappos that might be the most important. Zappos is forcing itself to do a good job filtering people on the front end, creating a place where people want to work. Key. A place where people want to work. People want to come in, day out, wake up on that Monday morning, enthusiastic to get to work. These are the people that are going to make your business zing.